Several of you have contacted me and asked me how did I find my very first deal that I'm planning to turn into a rental. And that deal just happened to be subject to an existing loan. And I was specifically hoping that I would get a subject to as my very first deal because it's such an easy acquisition strategy. And wouldn't you believe it? It's called manifestation, I guess. It did manifest for me. But how did I do it? And most importantly, how could you potentially get into subject to deals? So the way that I found this deal actually shines a light on a strategy that I am hoping to be able to execute in the future, looking for similar situations. Okay, so how did I find that deal? The owner of the house that I'm planning to take on, and that's a 3-bedroom, 2 baths in Mesquite with an office, which I plan to turn into a 4-bedroom, 2 baths once I take possession of it. But that owner had a specific predicament. He was talked into installing solar panels on his house. He bought his house about 4 years ago. The solar panels were installed about 2 years ago. He thought that he was getting a great deal and some kind of a tax benefit from the government. Well, after they installed the solar panels, not only did he continue to have an electrical bill, but also he quickly realized that he cannot realize that tax saving as easily as he thought he would be able to do. And also, the way that his solar panel loan was structured was kind of sucky. He was to pay a small amount, let's say $120 in the first 5 years. And then he was supposed to pay back the credit that he got from the government, was supposedly got. He never actually got the credit. He couldn't figure out how to do it. He was not savvy enough. But anyhow, he was supposed to get a $14,000 credit from the government to him. And then within 5 years of ownership of the solar panels, he was supposed to pay that full credit back to the solar panel company. I do not know what it's like, if it's normal or not. I just know that that was the situation. So this guy, he's elderly. He's not very savvy at all. So he decided that I don't like this whole situation. Let me just sell the house and sell the problem. He hires me as his realtor. We met through some friends, and he hires me as his realtor. I've never dealt with solar panels before, so I was a little bit kind of puzzled by his situation. And so we put his house in the market, hoping for the best, but the best did not happen. We have 1 month in the market, 2nd month in the market. The summer is halfway through, and I'm showing him stats saying your house is one of the longest that's been on the market. And it's one of the more updated ones. So the only reason that I see why your home is not selling is those solar panels. So what is the reason the home is not selling with the solar panels? Well, here's the problem. Whoever will take the house will have to take over the loan for the solar panels. And that loan is like $50,000. And for them to take over to buy the house, they actually need to qualify for a mortgage on the house, plus that $50,000, kicking their debt to income calculation out of order. So we have had multiple parties who were interested in the house. We had people who wanted to make offers. Once they investigated a little bit with their lenders, the lenders told them, sorry, we cannot qualify you for this house because of the solar panel situation. So after having multiple failed attempts to purchase the house, the owner was getting a little bit frustrated because there was no apparent way forward. He either had to pay off the solar panel at closing, but he was adamantly against that. He said, if I paid the remaining payoff amount for solar panels was $50K, he said, if I pay $50K, I'm going to be literally walking away with about $37 of money, which is not even enough for me to go, forget about the down payment, not going to last me several years as far as rent. Where am I going to go after that? But most importantly, said, why should I pay off solar panels and gift the buyers however many years, another 20, 30 years of almost free electricity out of the goodness of my heart? I want them to pay for their own solar panels. So he was adamant that he's not going to pay off solar panels for the buyers. But with the solar panels, we couldn't get the buyers qualified. So as his realtor, I felt kind of stuck. Now, here lays the key, potentially. Why am I telling you this long story? There's a point to it. So you see how the solar panels got him in a bind where people who wanted to purchase his property could not? If that happened to him, that means that other people who recently installed solar panels might be in a similar position with not only their energy costs not necessarily being any lower than they expected, being as low as they expected, but also their credit that they supposedly received from the government needing to be paid back in 5 years. And if they don't have the credit to pay back, then their monthly cost of the solar panel lease almost doubles. And they're not happy about it. So do you see why I told you that story? That story is to make you to think, okay, what about driving around and finding property, because solar panels have a tendency of being highly visible. They're easy to see from the street. You don't even need to know the house. You can just look around and you can see where solar panels are installed. So assuming that you're facing the right direction of the street, the solar panels might be in the back. So you might have to drive through the alley too. But anyhow, so based on that situation, we sat down, explained to him his options. He was extremely depressed over the option that I laid out to him. Either we pay the solar panels in full and you buy that cost and gift the solar panels to the buyers, or you continue to own the house and you need to find $14,000 to pay back to the solar panel company. He was very unhappy about that. And then I just threw in a suggestion. I said, I have a third solution, third option for you to consider. And I said, what if I take over your monthly payments and take over the payments for the solar panels, and you dump the solar panel problem on me to solve? As long as you get your equity, because you wanted an X amount of equity, right? You want this and this and this for your equity. You're not going to be able to do that if you take on the if you pay all the solar panels. You just won't. There's no way you can do that. So if you want your equity, what if I take over your monthly payment? Because I knew from his calculations how much he owns, that his monthly payments were like $1,200 to $1,300 per month. He was a VA loan with 2.9% interest rate. It was a really good loan. And I said, I hate for that loan, such a good interest rate, such a good loan to go to waste. I've been in the house many times doing showings, so I knew the house perfectly. It was almost spotless. It's been almost fully updated 3 years ago. Almost nothing needed to be done in the house. It would have been a perfect rental. So I gave him my thought. I said, just, don't get mad at me for throwing it out at you, but what about this? And he said, well, how would that work? So I laid him out how taking over his loan would work. And he scratched his head and he said, well, that doesn't sound too bad comparing to the other option that I have. And I gave him calculations in which if he didn't go forward with the sale to a traditional buyer, he could save money on closing costs, money on realtor fees, money on all kind of other things like surveys and title policies. Some people who came and liked the house, they were asking about sort of concessions like paying down their interest rates, etc. I said, none of this nonsense you need to worry about or take out of your own pocket. It's just very clean. You walk away with your equity and there's no additional cost to us. None, zero costs to you. And he said, zero costs to me, and I get more equity because I don't have to pay you guys, the realtors, right? And I said, that's right. And he said, well, let me discuss it with my wife and we'll get back to you tomorrow. And lo and behold, I got a phone call the next day saying that they thought my plan was actually the best of the ones that they had and they want to move forward with it. So that was the story of me securing that deal, subject to deal. Now, question. After I finished talking to this person, I said, I'm now tempted to drive around, just randomly put on good music, and start writing down houses with solar panels. And then potentially just knocking on doors and say, hey guys, I noticed you have solar panels. How happy are you with your solar panels? And they say, oh no, we're so happy. We love them to death. We wish we bought more solar panels earlier. Great. Those people, I cannot help them. They're not my sellers. But if they say, "Oh Lord, I wish I could rip those damn things off my roof and throw them in a garbage can or something like that," now that's an interesting person, and to sit and listen to his grief, to his pain story, and then say, "How long did you get it? Did you already pay off your the credit that you received?" And if they're not even aware that they need to pay off that credit, say, "Oh man, you really need to look at your agreement. You might have to pay off a big credit at the end. Let me review your agreement with you." And then maybe after that, getting a peek at how much they're paying for their monthly panel, asking them how much they're paying per month for the total mortgage, and then potentially saying, "Hey, if you ever decide to get rid of the house, call me first because I might be able to make an offer that will be better than if you sell it on open market." Maybe getting that leads. So I'm just sharing with you the strategy that so right now at the summer is kind of a little hot, hot period for me to be working and making good money in real estate, as I'm an active realtor. But once the rain starts and once it's a little bit less busy on the market, I'm seriously thinking about just driving down streets, seeing if they have solar panels, writing down their numbers, and then door knocking those people. Here's an idea for you how you could obtain potentially subject to loan, just like I did. So what was needed for me to execute the strategy? So many of you asked, how did you do it? What kind of documents you used? So I wanted to put a cherry on the top to that seller because he was a little bit hesitant of going into the deal with me because he's like, what if you stop paying your loan? Is the loan still going to be in my name? I'm not sure I'm happy about loan being in my name, and I don't even have the house anymore because you have it. So he had all those questions. So I came up with the following strategy. I said, what about this? What if you and I, we move the house into an LLC, and I become the managing member of the LLC, and I own 95% of the LLC, and you own 5% of the LLC, including 5% of the profits that this LLC will produce through renting out this property. And I said, as a result of doing this 5% ownership of the LLC, you still kind of partially own the house. If it improves in value, you have corresponding improve in your own wealth. And any money that the LLC produces that I put my hard, work and effort into putting the renters into, you get the passive income from it. It will be tiny, small little check every month, but you'll get a tiny, small check every month just to remind you that you're still part owner of that LLC. So you told me, Mr. Seller, that you always hoped that one day you'd have passive income. That would be a start. And he looked at me and he said, "Now that's a really interesting idea. I've never thought I would be able to have passive income from my property like that. That's just an option for us to explore." He was so into that idea. He's like, "Tell me more. How would we do it?" So he was hooked on the idea that he would remain tiny fraction of ownership of the house and tiny fraction of ownership of the profits. And I said, and even better, if for some reason I stop paying let's just say I got abducted by the aliens, or I get hit by a car, or I decide to run away with the money to Mexico, you're still part owner of the LLC. You can just take over the payments and it will be already stuffed with tenants. You will have a good cash flow. You will start having a happy life. We can set up a provision that if for some reason I disappear and you cannot get a hold of me, that you start managing the cash flow and managing everything. He said, damn, that's a really good proposition. I said, yes, it will give you a peace of mind. It will give me a peace of mind that if something happens to me, I know that there's at least one more person who knows what to do with the house. I said, yeah, it could be a win-win for both of us. He agreed. So the structure that we decided to do is that the following. He would put his property into an LLC. This way, he would let his lender know that the property is being transferred into a rental, and because it's being transferred into a rental, it will go into an LLC. He got the lender to agree to the plan that the property will be moved into an LLC. Then once the LLC documents are set up, initially he would be just the single owner of that LLC. We would get that all sent to the lender. The lender would review the operating agreement, approve the transfer of the LLC. He the single owner. We would get the insurance switched from his personal name being co-insured to the LLC name being co-insured. And then once the lender is satisfied and the insurance is in place, then I would just come in, bring my equity, and I would then purchase 95% ownership of the LLC. So basically, instead of the house title switching from him to me, the house title would move into his LLC. And then instead of purchasing the house, I purchased the ownership of the LLC. He thought about it and he didn't see any reason not to do that. And I will be honest, I've never seen anybody do that, but it just looked like a good structure to me, in order to help him to overcome a little bit of his resistance to, letting me run away with the house. So we structured it this way. I'm taking over his loan. So let's just say that the house is, the house value is about $300,000, right? He owns 197 on that house. He is allowing me to take, and his monthly payments are about $1,300 or $1,400 on that loan. So he's allowing me to take over that loan, and that loan is in the first position. On top of that, I go out and I acquire a private money loan, and that private money loan will be for about $78,000, and it will pay him the equity that he wanted, which he wanted $60-something thousand for the equity. It will pay any kind of legal costs involved in this transaction. It will pay for any kind of expenses such as setting up the LLC and doing all that good stuff. We really don't have a closing except for transferring the property using the special warranty deed from his name to the LLC name. We don't actually have a traditional closing because he's going to transfer the property into his name. Special warranty deed goes from him to LLC, and then I take over LLC. So we don't technically have a closing. We just have a signing of the operating agreement that changes the management of the LLC. And then for the remaining amount, I wanted to do some paint, a few cosmetic changes, and then I needed to buy furniture in order to turn it into a room-by-room rental. And the office would need to be changed into a 4th-bedroom. So for me, I was taking over the loan, getting a second position loan, private money lender for second position. And that second position would cover equity, any kind of associated costs, remodel, light remodel, and furniture, photography, and whatever else is necessary to get me started and put me in front of potential renters. So we agreed right now. We have not closed yet. We're just now starting to form the LLC. I'm actually looking for a good lawyer who would be able to help me to write a good operating agreement that could help us to create the structure that he and I agreed to create. And then I'll be honest, I already have a lender who volunteered to fund me for the private money loan on this transaction. But if you know anybody whose money are currently generating less than 10 to 12% interest rate per year, let them know about what I do. So basically, if their money are currently sitting in some kind of 401k account that they already forgotten about, and that 401k account is not consistently year after year generating more than 10 to 12%, then I might be able to make an offer of guaranteed return of 12% and higher if you become my private money lender and help me to invest, and you can be actually a partner for me, go into partnership with me, because I'm hoping to get many, many more properties using the exact same structure that I used with the gentleman for my first deal. So in all of those cases, I will be taking over an existing loan, and I would need a private money lender to fund that part. And then we can discuss what return they would like for their private money. But again, it would be a guaranteed return based by a note and based by an actual security in a home. that they can then use to boost their retirement account, or if they're currently holding their money in some kind of a CDs or anything like that, that they're not producing 12% or higher, then they could switch that to giving a note to me. And now, whether they hold a note or the CD, what kind of a difference does it make to them? Except for the return. So anyhow, if you know anybody who would be interested in doing private money lending, backed by real estate, and they could become partners in a real estate investment or a rental, midterm rental, let me know. I am open for introductions to the new lenders so we can work together. Also, if you know of properties where a seller cannot for some reason sell a home and he is unable to get out of his house because similar situation, a regular sale makes no sense, but he still needs to get out, let me know, and maybe I can work with that seller and help him to get out of his situation by doing the same thing that I did for this case. So also, if you just would like to know how I continue to acquire similar properties, I will continue to make videos like that. So every time I acquire a property, I plan to explain exactly how I did it. Now, once this property closes, I'm planning to put up, examples of our operating agreements, any kind of document that we sign. So you could see how I was able to do this transaction in case you're thinking about doing something similar, but you don't know how to get it done. I'll be happy to share my progress and the documents that we create, so anybody could benefit from my strategy. Feel free to subscribe, watch my adventures in real estate. I'm just now starting out. It's my very first deal that I'm doing. It's my very first year that I'm investing. I'm sure I'm going to make a ton of mistakes and missteps along the way. I'm not worried about it. I'm always looking with great optimism into the future, and I'm looking forward to helping more people like the seller to solve his problem, while at the same time providing a wonderful opportunity for investment for me. So thank you so much. My name is Elena Garrett, and I am the owner of the Prop Shop website, and I'm a realtor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas with Keller Williams Central. See you later.